on IG and Amanda Miller Talks on Facebook. So guys, I'm going to say that again so you get all of the ways in which you can tune into is Talk.Queens on IG and Amanda Miller Talks on Facebook. And we will be adding a new addition to TikTok coming very soon, guys. So go ahead, if you don't have a TikTok account, go ahead and make you one because 105.7 The Phase with your girl Amanda Miller will be on TikTok coming very soon. Well, one of the other additions I want to tell you guys about is today, because I have a special guest in the studio with me today, Yolanda Diamond. I want you guys to because we also engineering, you can go ahead and still put your questions in the chat because we still want you guys to stay connected, stay tuned, and be engaged. But today, I want you to call us if you have any questions for Miss Yolanda as well. That number is 404-249-5092. And I'm going to run it by you again. 404-249-5092. Yolanda. Hello. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. I really appreciate it. So, first and foremost, I want to ask you, where are you from?
I'm originally born in Cedartown, outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
And I lived in Atlanta for most all of my life, except for being incarcerated.
Okay. So, living in Atlanta, are you from Cedartown? East side, west side?
South
side? Okay.
Brent Park.
Okay, south side in the house. I hear you. And so, Yolanda, this amazing book, guys, please make sure you go get it. Faith Over Fear. When you hear the title, Faith Over Fear, of course we understand what that means when we talk about faith. But that fear part, that looks different for each of us. So what is that fear for you?
For me, it was losing my freedom, losing my family, being separated from society.
Separated from society.
Yes, ma'am.
So, guys, when we talk about faith over fear, and you heard Yolanda talk about her incarceration, and so one of my questions was going to be for you, what drove you to this book? So I'm sure your incarceration, of course, drove you to write this amazing, wonderful book.
Yes, it did.
We'll take a breather on that, right?
Yes.
Your incarceration drove you to write this amazing book. So guys, of course, author, actors, all of that in her resume that rolls up into one for this book. But tell me and the audience, because I've had the ability to kind of at least dive in some of the things that I was able to find about the book. But I will say I have not had the opportunity to read it in detail, but know definitely of your incarceration because of the things I was able to Google and find out. But I want you to share with our studio audience about your incarceration. First and foremost, before we do that, how much time did you serve?
I served a life sentence, which was 2 decades. I was sentenced to life plus 25 years.
Life plus 25 years. Before we also get into that story, to hear that the day of sentencing, I'm sure that played into some of this fear.
Yes.
How was that for you?
Numbing. I went numb. It was almost like a death sentence. Literally, I was placed in a safe cell because they wanted to make sure I wouldn't harm myself after being sentenced to such a long time.
Okay.
And so for me, it was surreal.
Mm.
It was
So
surreal.
real.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And especially, like you said, for your family. So,
Yes.
do you have kids?
I have 2 sons.
How old were your sons at that time?
At the time I was became incarcerated, my youngest son was 3 months old.
Oh my goodness.
And my oldest son was 3 years old.
3 months and 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And their mom is facing 25
Yes, ma'am.
plus.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
5 plus 25 years.
We're going to pause for 1 second. And we do have a question. So we'll get the engineer to go ahead and give us that question.
Okay.
Jeff Martin asks, what made her write the book?
Okay, so Jeff, we'll go back to Yolanda and let her say it again. What caused you to write this book, if you will, please?
Jeff, what caused me to write the book is during my incarceration, I was losing my mom.
Oh my goodness, okay.
First, I lost my father, and I was unable to go to his funeral.
Okay.
Then I lost my grandma. 6 months later, I lost my mom. And that prompted me to write this book and tell my story. Being separated from my children, for the most part, was the biggest thing, because I wanted to have something to show legendary for them to fall back on, for them to know what my life was like. And what better details than to put it in writing.
Absolutely. So, knowing that your sons were 3 years old and 3 months old, and you were now headed to prison, tell us now, why were you going? What were you sentenced for? Why did you go to prison?
Whew.
Okay, take a moment.
I went to prison because I left going to the store to get my youngest son some milk.
Okay.
During that time, I was selling drugs. I was using drugs.
Okay.
And when we arrived to the store with the young man I was selling the drugs to, he ran into somebody he knew.
Okay.
So it was a complete stranger.
Okay.
And that is what initiated giving that person a ride. I never returned back home.
Oh my goodness.
It turned basically into a kidnapping. I was sexually assaulted and held for 3 days against my will, and he committed a burglary during this process. And they sentenced me as part of being a party to the crime.
Gotcha.
Even though I was forced to drive a vehicle and could have lost my life
In
in the midst of this. It ended in a vehicle accident, and the entire family lost their lives. 3 adults, they charged me with felony murder, an ongoing trial.
We'll take a moment. Guys, just be patient with us, please. This is definitely, I am sure, tough for her to still relive that day. I'm definitely gonna tell you guys to please, if you have any questions, like I stated, please put it in the chat. But also, we're being engineered, so those questions will be captured. But if you want to call and talk to Yolanda, please, that number is 404-249-5092. Again, the number is 404-249-5092. And just to be able to go back and recap for just a second, and as we allow Yolanda her moment. So today, guys, we have Yolanda Diamond in the studio with us. Author, writer, actor, faith over fear. Yolanda tells us about her story of being receiving a life sentence, 25 plus years. Also, just knowing that when she was sentenced, her family, immediate family, consisted, of course, of her sons, 3 months and 3 years old. Also, her father was sick at the time, passed away shortly after, and in the midst of her being gone away, her mother also passed. This is some background story to where we are now. And in the midst of this, what led Yolanda to a prison center, she went to the store to get some things for her son. In the midst of that, a person that she was dealing drugs with saw somebody that he knew. She never knew the person. That person got in the car with them. A hostage situation occurred during this time. Yolanda was sexually assaulted, forced to do a lot of things that she did not want to do. Also, in the midst of one of the situations that occurred, there was a car accident. During this car accident, a family lost their life. For you, in hearing still your pain. And I am so sorry, because I can only imagine you going through this and knowing that a family lost their lives. And then you have your own kids. And I hear you say a baby.
Yes.
How old was the baby?
She was still pregnant. One of the young ladies was still pregnant, but she was at full term. Actually, she was 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
And so they charged me with vehicular feticide.
Okay.
For the unborn child, and it was I think her sister was the passenger.
Okay.
And then they had a 5-year-old son that was in the backseat that died later at the hospital.
So 2 adults, 2 kids.
Correct.
1 unborn.
Correct.
And 1 5-year-old.
Yes.
Where did this take place?
In Clayton County.
Okay.
At the intersection of Conley Drive.
Let me, if it's okay, ask you this. What caused this accident? Was it, because I did hear you say that at some point you were still dealing with doing drugs. Was it a time that you were intoxicated, meaning on the drug? Was it your fear where there were speeding because of the kidnapping of the person that took you? What happened?
Okay, during that time, I was not using drugs.
Okay.
He had shot me up with drugs, which at the time I didn't know what it was.
Gotcha.
And so what turned into the high-speed chase was the burglary.
Got you. Okay.
I didn't know how to, it was the vehicle was hot-wired or whatever.
Okay.
And I know I was scared. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared.
Absolutely.
To run, and he had a gun to my head.
Absolutely.
I could have died. I could have jumped out. I thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I even took my foot off, thinking that I saw another cop on the side and thinking that he would cut me off or whatever. I mean, but I was just in a panic rage. Just
Wasn't thinking.
Yeah,
Of
just
course.
driving, trying to. All I could think about was my kids. To be honest, I was just having flashes of my kids and my own life, and they didn't call off the pursuit.
Okay.
And that's how the wreck happened.
And so often that happens is that police chase cause accidents that cause people to lose their lives. And I don't know at what point what those rules are that makes them fall back to say that this is one that we're going to have to let go so that we don't put lives in danger. I want to ask you about that possibly, if you can. I know your sentence is over, but there may be things you can talk about and you can't talk about. Did that even come up in court?
It did.
Okay.
And because I did take a trial, because I could not just commit to taking a plea deal saying I'm just guilty of committing a murder.
Right.
That I did not just commit.
Willfully.
I didn't, exactly.
Right.
The accident did happen. I take accountability
Right.
for that. I do. I take accountability for that. However, the chase could have been called off. And because it was not called off, the family did sue Clayton County.
Okay.
And they did win. Now, whatever the settlement was, I don't know.
Okay. All right. So they did pursue it, and Clayton County were paid out whatever held responsible. Why did they charge you with those things, although Clayton County were found to be held responsible, and of course some kind of settlement took place? Why did they still feel like there was a charge there for you? Was it because of the burglary and the pursuit?
Yes.
The chase.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's because it was in the commission of a crime.
Got it. So
that kind of lingered, caused it to be
Understood.
bringing charges. So even though I didn't think it was fair.
Right, understood. What was that like for your mom?
It was devastating for my mom. They had to carry her out of the courtroom. It was devastating. And for years, up until my mom passed, I would talk to her every week. And she would come visit me up until she was just so sick and unable to come. And all she would ever say was she would hold on and hopefully enough time for me to become free. My mom passed 6 months before I was allowed to go to the transitional center. Mind you, they would not let me attend my mom's funeral, so I didn't even get to say goodbye again to neither one of my parents. And that,
I'm sure that's tough.
yeah,
I'm sure that is the toughest
that
thing.
is something I still live with today.
Oh, it took me a moment. Do we have any questions out there?
If you would just repeat the name of the book for Bread C 3660.
The book is Faith Over Fear, The Life and Sentence of Yolanda Adams. Guys, please. Yolanda Adams, my goodness, y'all, I'm so sorry. Yolanda Diamond. Yes, please go and get the book, if you will. It's an amazing read. And we're here today to talk about some of that. If you all, yet again, have any questions out there for us, you can put it in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to talk about it and ask that question to Yolanda. But also call us. That number is 404-249-5092, 404-249-5092. And again, let's just make clear, the book is by Yolanda Diamond. Yolanda, you are definitely welcome. How was prison life?
Wow. It was, prison life was very interesting, to say the least.
Okay.
For me, I met people from all walks of life, from every ethnicity, every age, from children to elderly. There are some geniuses back there, but there are also people that committed crimes that you think, like, how, why? You know, and that experience, changing roommates all the time.
Okay.
People, what's the perfect word for what? I don't want to say defamation, but I went through a phase of people calling me a killer.
Okay.
Or a murderer.
Okay.
You know, with the details or without the details.
Do you feel like there's a lot of, from the women perspective, because I had guys on the show that talked about their time in being incarcerated, but to hear women, a woman being incarcerated, is there a lot of bullying there?
Oh yeah.
Cliques?
Yes. It's just like being on the streets, but it's a world of its own.
Okay.
They click up, gangs, you got everything going on the streets, go on in prison as well. Yeah.
As far as contrabands, phones, things of that nature.
Contraband, phones, cigarettes, drugs, store, you name it.
You name it. Right.
You name it.
Right.
Gambling.
The day that you went to prison, what day was that? Do you remember?
I got incarcerated May 5th, 1994.
Okay, May 5th, 1994. Did you count the days down to the day that you thought you would be released?
Yes, because every time I came up for parole 3 times.
And I was going to ask you just that. Okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
how was that for you the first time they denied you?
Devastating. But then it was something that also said I wasn't ready.
Okay. And why was that? Did you feel like you wasn't ready because of the drugs? Or tell me, why did you think you were not ready?
I didn't think I was ready. I was ready in my heart, in my mind, saying, yeah, I'm ready to get out of prison. Of course. Because I wanted to be with my family and my children. But not ready because you got to remember, I went in, I was very young. So my fear was coming back out to society, not having a full plan in place in 5 years or 7 years. So that took time. It took denial after denial after denial, classes.
Going very young, and to be that young and going to prison, facing that type of sentence, first time going up for parole, being denied. Second time, from the first to the second, what was that time frame?
The first time I was denied was in 7-year time span.
Okay.
Because they were starting to change some of the laws.
Okay.
So I fell up under the old law before they changed it again. So for me, it was always 7-year interval.
Mm-hmm.
Which though, on the school board, they presented to me so that they wanted 30 years off the top. They didn't care whether I came up for parole every 7 years or not. They wanted me to do 30 years to the door before I was really considered for parole.
So that first time, 7, you go back. What's that second time span? From 7 to
Another 7.
another 7.
Yes.
Another 7.
So you got
And then another 7
and another 7
at that third.
Yes.
Wow. When you went back for parole and you were granted parole, better yet, let's go back. Why did they feel like they denied you? Is it because they, like you just said, they wanted you to do so much time before, or did they think you wasn't ready?
Part of it is they didn't think I was ready.
Okay.
And then you also have the Victims Impact Program, where the family has a choice to be present at any parole hearings and voice their opinion on whether they feel you are ready to be let out into society or not.
Okay.
Also, what you do while you're inside of the prison plays a big role.
Okay.
So during the first 7 years, I practically sat idle.
Okay.
Playing cards, still doing whatever. I
And
was
you're
humble.
young.
I was young. I was humble to the most part because I think I've always been pretty mature. However, it like really didn't sink in for like reality that okay, I'm really gonna have to pull this time until after that first denial.
Got it. Got it. Family that came out, were they able to speak at those parole hearings?
Oh yes, yes.
What were some of the things that were shared and said?
I cannot discuss
Gotcha.
what was said. Later on down the line, maybe 10 or 14 years in, I had a friend on the outside, and I was just determined wholeheartedly to apologize to the victim's family and just really let them know that I was truly sincere and remorseful for what happened. Yes, I had to lay down for a while. I had to let it die down. I reached out to the district attorney. I reached out to everybody I could. I took every protocol it was to find this family. And I finally found them. I wrote them a letter to each member of the family. And they finally responded. And do you know what? Let me tell you how good God is. This is the faith I'm talking about.
Okay.
Faith over fear. The family reached back out to me and started writing me.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
They forgave me. From that point on, I knew I had believed in something higher than myself, because there was no way that wasn't done for any other reason. None. They didn't owe me anything.
Absolutely.
They didn't have to forgive me.
Absolutely.
And that.
Do you think that the next time that you came up for parole, that played a part in it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that played a huge part in it, because the parent of the females, the mother, is who wrote me the most. And she just wanted me to always let her know what my progress was, how I felt, to just always try to be a better version of myself. And they understood that I was a young girl that made mistakes.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So guys, definitely just for a moment, I want to do some recap. If you're just joining us, please, please, please make sure that you follow Yolanda Diamond on her social media. But more importantly, guys, go out there and get the book so that you can definitely read about Faith Over Fear, the life and sentence of Yolanda Diamond. A life sentence. When you hear a life sentence for a woman that at the time, 22 years of age, a son 3 months, a son 3 years, a lot of things that led up to it, but the entirety, that a family lost their life in the commission of a crime pursuit. A burglary took place, police chase, police weren't called off, 2 females, 1 pregnant at full term 9 months, another 5-year-old child being in the back seat. That family lost their life, and this is what caused Yolanda to be sentenced to a life sentence. However, in the midst of that, she lost her father, her mom, which seems to be very still emotional and raw for her at this to this day, and I can only imagine what that looks and feel like. But guys, if you have any questions for her, please put it in the chat, or you can call us and speak to Yolanda at 404-249-5092. The day you went to Transition Center, how did that make you feel?
Overjoyed.
I'm sure.
Couldn't believe it. Actually, they transferred me out a year before. So I had been to every prison.
Oh my goodness, wow.
Transferred a lot. But I transferred a year before I went to Transitional Center, and one day I was walking and a lieutenant came up to me and she was like, "Yolanda Diamond?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." She was like, "Why are you still on these premises?" So I'm confused.
Right.
Well, what you know? I don't know.
Right.
And she was like, "You made parole." Mind blowing. So I'm thinking like, okay, this for real. This for real.
Right.
I didn't have the paperwork yet,
Okay.
but
Just
that,
the thought of knowing, right?
yes, that gave me the first hint, and I was like, this is gonna be real this time.
Yeah.
You know, and it still took a year.
Okay.
However, that was like motivation enough for me to start looking forward to hopefully going to that transitional center. Yeah.
Your mom, I want to go back. Did your kids come and see you? Did they bring them to see you? I know a lot of times, sometimes people may not want to have their kids come and go through that and see them behind bars, but were your sons able to see you?
Yes, they were.
How were they doing that?
From babies, their dad would bring them, and then after he would bring them, my family would bring them, and then I got involved with the female. She would bring them also.
Okay.
And then there was a program, it was AIM.
Okay.
So they made sure that they traveled and made sure that a guardian could come with your children for incarcerated mothers. That was the best thing that ever happened. And thank you to CC Doyle and Miss Sandra Thornhill.
Okay.
They made that happen. So my family, I didn't see my family for a long time too, periods in between, because at times, like I said, I got shipped to different facilities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hours away.
That's right.
But when they were able to come, my brother would show up.
Oh, my
sister-in-law would show up.
Okay.
My niece, my sister,
family support.
family would show up.
That
You know what I'm
was
saying? So it was okay for me. For the most part, my ex, she, 10 years or better, made sure she brought my kids to see me
my word.
every weekend.
So when you say you got involved with a female, are you saying someone that was on the inside or before you left?
Before I left going off to prison,
Okay.
but we met at the county jail.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So, oh wow. So that was really good that she was still able to stay connected with you during that long time. So that's amazing and that's wonderful. Transition Center. We almost home, guys. We're almost home.
All right.
Transition Center. You're there. How was that like for you?
That was a better part of preparing to come out into the world. I was able to immediately phase up because my first weekend,
Okay.
I worked hard to earn my hours, my credits, learning philosophy. Then I did my volunteer work. I worked at an animal shelter most of the time, and that was a little bit of breather, a little bit of freedom. And then I was able to actually go get employment, work a real job.
Okay.
And so I started earning money, and I started stacking.
So I'm at the transition center. I have to gain hours in order to be able to go out in the free world.
Yeah.
And do you have to have a job?
You have to have a job.
Okay.
Okay, and for me, because of my charges, I wasn't allowed to go to church.
Why?
Because to them, I'm a murderer.
But
Even though you let me
okay.
go free,
But that's
you got to
me.
put me. No, but this is. I'm telling you, this is how it works. And because a child was involved, it's certain laws and rules that they have in place. Like I tried to sign up for the fire department. Also, they had an all-female fire department where you could go out and literally put out help with the fire department.
Okay.
And I applied for that. I couldn't do that.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I was able to help run Arthur's Club while I was incarcerated. So we wrote books and stuff like that, took classes, but I could not go to church. I could only go to like the Dollar General. They would take us on every other Saturday for like 30 minutes or whatever. And to that job. That's it. I wasn't allowed to. So for me, while I was out at my job, going behind the building just to take a break or breathe in the fresh air or just take in the scenery and meeting people again, that was awesome for me. See, and that was just that small thing for me. That was
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure. We are not. How long did you stay at the transition center?
I stayed at Transitional Center 1 full year.
A full year before you were completely free to go home, to start your life. No one telling you what time to get up, what to eat, when to eat it, when break time, when to come back. None of that. It is time to go home, and you call your own shots, and you're in the free world. So now, what would you do different if you could?
I wouldn't sell drugs. That's first of all. I would not sell drugs. I would not do drugs.
Absolutely.
I would just make better decisions. I would definitely make better decisions, and I would have applied myself more because writing was in me the whole time. I wrote like 25 books, 30 books in 5 years flat. I got manuscripts at home right now in my bookshelf I have not even put out yet. And so I got with Vanessa Jackson. She had a talk show. I met her through my cousin D-Rock of the Yin Yang Twins, and we was going to write a project for him. But during that incarceration, while the brat was there, I was helping her work on a project.
Okay.
So it was always there. It was just finalizing it. Well, actually, I started publishing before I became free.
Okay.
But with that freedom, I was able to come out, sign to some different publishers, do little tours, and take off from there.
Wow. Your talent has always been there. God takes us through a journey to get us where we need to be. And sometimes it's raw and it's real.
Yeah.
Do you believe this was in the making the whole time?
It definitely was in the making the entire time. The entire time. From beginning of my troubled childhood from home, I went through a lot. Before my incarceration, still mind-blowing, okay? This incarceration just allowed me to sit down. God sat me down, got my full attention to get me where I needed to be. To truly humble me.
Absolutely. I tell people that all the time. When there are things that's going on in our lives and we just can't seem to get a grasp or hold on it. Mm-hmm. And although we know of a higher power and we know to call out to whatever higher power that is for you, because people believe in different things.
Yeah.
When we go in a different direction of which we've been pointed into the right and we go left,
yeah,
God has a way of humbling us.
Sit you down.
And
He will sit you down.
Absolutely.
And that's what he did for me. And for that, it built my faith a little bit more. I'm stronger now and I have been through some tremendous, I always tell people always say, oh, you don't look like what you've been through, because if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know.
Absolutely. Because I have to tell our story by the way we look.
Exactly.
But we can tell our testimony.
Exactly.
So that people can understand what we've gone through, but more importantly, to go ahead and take, whatever out of your testimony that they can take away.
Yes. And that was very important for me also. I wanted my testimony to be able to inspire the next person, the world, whoever, whatever, to just let them know sometimes what you've been through don't matter. It's where you're going.
Absolutely.
Today, if you're present today. Can't worry about yesterday.
That's right. So I want you to look in this camera. And I want you to tell the audience, those that are tuned in, those that will go back and listen, those that will come across this broadcast, those that will read this book, whatever it is that you would like to say, share, talk about, this is your moment.
Hello, world. First of all, I want to say thank you for supporting me, those that have, those that will. I hope that each person will be inspired and motivated. Get on your grind, never give up, believe in yourself, and kindness is key.
Kindness is key.
Kindness is key.
Although faith over fear, I see that you brought something else with us. Tell me about it very quickly.
These are just some of the other books I had wrote while I was in prison, and this was like my start, which they have been revived, and so I'm going to revamp some other books. And for Faith Over Fear, it has been written script.
Okay.
Film, we're trying to find funding for it. So if you out there, help me out.
I understand.
And the writers of my film is Vanessa Jackson and Jewel Parker. Thank you. Humbly, thank you. And I hope to see myself on the screen.
And hey, count it out, Joe. We have claimed that blessing for you. God has taken you through so much, and also to get you to where you are, to build you and make you the wonderful woman that you are. And it's so unfortunate that you had to go through those trials to become who you are. But at the end of the day, you are certainly looking amazing. This book, an amazing part of your journey and your story. 2 wonderful boys. How old are your boys now?
33 and 30.
33 and 30.
And I'm a grandmother of 4.
Right? You are now still able to get out and be, mom,
So grateful.
grandma.
Yes.
And
Grateful.
so we appreciate you for being able to come out, tell your story with Amanda Miller Talks, the Top Queens, and 105.7 The Phase. You are truly, for me, definitely inspirational. And so God bless you as you go on your journey. And thank you again. I appreciate your time. Guys, I always say, there's a lot of amazing people out there. If you aren't one, become one. Thank you for tuning in to Amanda Miller Talks, the Top Queens. Guys, definitely go out there and get the book, Faith Overfilled by Yolanda Diamond. And have an amazing week, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. I did not know your story was that deep. You are amazing, strong, woman. Keep praying.
Oh, definitely.
And keep
I'm